Most people who watch the presidential debate agree the president's performance was not good, and many wonder if his cognitive health is to blame.
Joining us on the KOGO News Live line is the founder of the Brain Performance Center, Leigh Richardson. Welcome back, Leigh.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm assuming you watched the debate, and what went through your mind when you saw Joe Biden perform?
Cognitive decline.
So
Those two words. I mean, when I watched him perform, clarity was lacking. His response, he wasn't as certain with his speech. He did not speak with confidence. He did not speak with authority.
now, go ahead, LaDonna.
I mean, it was I watched the debate as many people did. It was very hard to watch. He, is in his 80s. So how common is it for a person in their 80s to be, completely lost at some times and then on top of things at other times? What is it that we expect?
Well, I think that what makes him vary so much, we've known for years, LaDonna, that emotional trauma and stress ages the brain. And the stress that he deals with, not all stress is created equal. When it's randomly generated, has a much bigger impact on the brain. And I would suspect that those debates were very stressful for both candidates. And I think that what has made him vary is the stress he's under, both personally and professionally. And I wonder what his neuroplasticity is like. Does his brain still have the ability to change? Because as we age, the brain ages.
Well, and some are saying the media is over-covering Biden's age, under-covering Donald Trump's age. He is 78. Is this a concern as well?
Well, Donald Trump's behavior was very different. And I think that age has got to be a concern. I mean, when you think about it, we've got 19 members in the Senate that are over 80 years old. And you can't become a president until you're 35. But there's no limit on it. And if you look at the military and you look at the airline industry, they have limits on the age that people can continue to work for safety. Is that something we should think about in our government?
Well, one of the things that comes to mind, I remember at the end of the Ronald Reagan era in the White House, and he was obviously suffering cognitively as well. I think that everyone who has seen Joe Biden thinks that there is some kind of cognitive decline. Is it Alzheimer's? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but at the same time, you have people who are willing to try to cover that up or pretend that it's not happening or pretend it was a bad day when it's patently obvious to anyone who's watching that it's not. And what do we do as voters? Because we're still being told that, these are our choices.
Well, and that's a really difficult question to answer because our choices are so limited. And I think that I struggled with it, and I've come to the conclusion that I have to vote. And I look at everything from a brain health aspect, and I look at Donald Trump, and I do feel that his brain is aged too. Everybody's brain ages. So I think that as voters, if we can reach out to the people that represent us and voice our opinion, we should do that.
All right. Founder of the Brain Performance Center, Leigh Richardson. Leigh, thank you so much.
Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My next guest has been on the show before, so I know this is going to be good. Welcome back, Leigh Richardson. And the reason why we're talking to her today is she works at the Brain Performance Center, and that's kind of been what the main topic of discussion for, all of America for the last 5 days. So Leigh Richardson is going to fill in some of the gaps that you and I have been speculating on. Leigh Richardson, welcome back to the show. First off, your thoughts on Biden's performance at Thursday's debate.
Well, it's probably the same as the majority. It was very disappointing. And I watched it, and I wondered. Selfishly, I'm thinking he needs to come to the Brain Performance Center. He needs some neuro. But what is going on? And I've kind of come to the conclusion that, yes, he's extremely stressed out, but not all stress is created equal.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And this is exactly what I wanted to talk about. Leigh Richardson, someone walks in like that, and not here to make fun of Biden, but I know a lot of people listening to us have parents or maybe even a spouse or grandparents, whoever, that have gone through this or are currently going through this. What could a place like the Brain Performance Center do for someone who's had cognitive issues like that?
Well, as we age, the brain changes. And by the time you're in your 60s, you'll probably experience some cognitive impairments, and he's way past that. And the brain becomes dysregulated, and you can teach the brain. You can train the brain to get into a regulated state. And genetics plays a part into your brain regulation, as does physical head trauma, emotional trauma, and then stress. And we know stress ages the brain. There's research that's shown that for decades. And I think when I look at someone in Biden or even Trump's position, the stress is different.
Oh, totally agree. What about when you go to a vitamin shop or a wellness store, they have all kinds of over-the-counter supplements and things to try. Are any of those effective?
Well, I think there are some that are effective, but you have to know what your brain needs. I think that there's some good blood work that can be done and can say, are you lacking in vitamin D? Vitamin D relates to depression. There's some value with supplements, but they need to be targeted, and they need to be based off data.
I think one of the more common ones that I'm familiar with, and I'm just a layman here, ginkgo biloba. That is something that people have told me over and over. It helps your brain. Does it?
It does some people, and some people it doesn't. And, it all depends on what your brain needs, what's in your genetic DNA.
I hear you. So do you have any idea what they're doing for Biden? Is he doing some of these mental exercises or supplements, or do you have no idea?
I have no idea. And I would think that what he's not getting is good, effective coaching, because he's being coached that he should stay in the role. And now, obviously, that's a decision that only he can make, but he needs some objective data. He needs more than one point of view.
For people who are seeing others go through that or going through that themselves, are you just doomed that it's going to continue to decline and the best you can hope is maybe slow it down, or can you really stop it?
I don't know that you can stop it, but you can change it. And you can change it with managing your stress, managing your sleep, nutrition. I mean, you can create neuroplasticity in the brain with your diet. You can do that with learning how to do new things, learn a new language. So there are certainly things that we can all do to increase our brain and optimize what our brain has. Now, I've worked with people with Alzheimer's, and have I seen a change in the way their daily life goes? Yes. Did it stop the disease? No. But what it usually will do is it will reduce the anxiety, the emotional component, the anxiety, the depression. If you've had a stroke, if you've had a heart attack, that emotional component is very much as big as the physical component. And that's where focusing on the brain can make a difference.
So the people I see online that are pointing to the fact that Joe Biden had a brain aneurysm in 1988, could that be something that contributed to this?
It could. It absolutely could. Just as how he's managing his stress or he's managing his sleep. I mean, all day long, those neurons and dendrites, they're wiring and firing, and they're creating toxic waste. And the only time those little glial cells will come out and clean that mess up is when you're asleep. So there's all kinds of things that could impact how his brain is functioning.
Oh, you're really hurting my feelings with that sleeping thing, because I live by the rule there'll be plenty of time to sleep when you're dead, but I might need to start getting a little more. Thank you very much, Leigh Richardson. How can they find you outside of WBAP?
They can find us on, we've got the good old-fashioned website, thebrainperformancecenter.com. You can find Dr. Leigh Richardson on LinkedIn, and we're all over social media.
And she spells it funny, Leigh. Thank you, Leigh.